story for our player classes.
All right, so the first thing we wanted to do is look at the history and character backgrounds. We wanted really unique characters, and to do this, we wanted our characters to have well-defined personalities as well as character arcs and basically their own feel. Now, this is reflected in the skill system, or their personal skills that Jay is going to talk about, but we set out to create archetypes. When you're playing a barbarian, you want to feel like you're playing the powerful fighter from the way he talks to the skills he has. Also, the NPCs in the game, the non-player characters, will react to the makes them much more interesting than, say, your off-the-shelf fighter. The barbarian is the same barbarian that you played in Diablo 2, but it's 20 years later. He's seen a lot. He's gone through a lot. Finding out what these things are, where he's at in his life, what has happened to his people. At the end of Lord of Destruction, Mount Arreat was destroyed. That's where the barbarian's ancestral home is. We have lore about the different classes that we've introduced so far up on the website that goes deeper into these things. But we're just trying to make the point that we're personalizing these characters. They're not generic. They're not an empty.
Not necessarily even unique to us. They're something that is just kind of Blizzard design philosophy that we share across the teams. So I'm going to go through a few of those now. The first one's concentrated coolness, and the idea of this is that every class needs to have its own thing that makes it cool, and that needs to be unique to them. And so it makes an archetype, so it makes a character really sing and makes them really awesome. The Barbarian's a great example. He's this pure physical melee fighter. And you could have other fighters as other classes, but you wouldn't want any of them that have his tone. You wouldn't want to talk about skills for a character class. Are we saying, well, we can have a skill where you do like 1% extra critical damage? It's like, oh, well, that's not very exciting. I mean, it's got its point within an overall kind of character build system, but if that's what you're defining your character by, well, that's not a really awesome character. But if we say, oh, well, he hits the ground so hard that everything in front of him gets completely crushed by the seismic force, that's pretty awesome. So those are the kinds of things that we look for the characters. And, you know, it's funny because when you talk about them in a panel, they almost seem obvious, but it's really easy when you get in a team to get caught into.
Wanted to do was actually start back at the beginning and really take a good hard look at what this franchise was all about and what made it such a classic gameplay experience. So we started with the original Diablo, and you can see the 3 original classes up there. And we took a look at some of our early concept designs for that and kind of defined what made those awesome at the time and why they became kind of a timeless set of characters. And what you can't really see on these concepts here, but one interesting thing that we were noticing when we were analyzing, like a rogue, the wizard doesn't look too happy. These guys live in a sort of a morally gray area, and that's really something that inspiration-wise we kind of latched onto as a character team. So moving forward into Diablo 2, again, we kind of took those more mature themes in the character realm. Here are the hero classes you can see. And in Diablo 2, we kind of expanded on that. So with the Diablo 1 heroes, we had some morally gray characters. Well, in Diablo 2, what you see with the Necromancer and the Assassin, I mean, those names right there are downright mean. I mean, in some cases, those could actually be enemies in a game, not just a hero class. And so that's really what we loved to think about was, you know what, this universe is extremely harsh. This is a place that if you're walking down the street, you have the chance to run into a demon or a character or a creature that could kill you at any instant. What kind of a hero is going to exist in those worlds? So from a philosophical standpoint, that's where we started. That's the inspiration that we wanted to start with, was just that dark overtone of the universe. So that brings us to kind of how we approached the Diablo 3 design. You can see we have some concepts of the barbarian. And this is actually the barbarian from the Diablo 2 universe. He's the same character. And you can see that we're keeping a lot of those same philosophies. The sharp armor, I mean, if this guy moves in the wrong way, he's going to impale himself, but that's just extra protection for the harsh environment that these guys live in. This is just the day-to-day life that these guys have to lead. So talking about the barbarian specifically and updating a classic, you know, this was really exciting for us. This was an opportunity to take just a classic character that we all love to play and just bring him back to life. You know, I mean, what's this dude been up to for the last 20 years? As Leonard was saying, this guy's 8 feet tall, 300 pounds of pure muscle, you know, and he saw some stuff in Diablo 2 that, you know, would kill most people. So, you know, giving him a little bit of age, kind of graying his hair down, making him look a little more matted. And then he's got these big gnarly scars on him and all sorts of craziness going on like that. So for us, when we were talking with Leonard and what Jay wanted to accomplish from the design side, we kind of pulled all that stuff together with, you know, what we wanted to accomplish by selling the story visually. And it's those scars, it's that gray hair, it's how that armor, you know, kind of lands on his. Visually, you know, he's much more stunning. He's just this big, vibrant plumes of feathers to scare off his enemies. His face mask is designed in a way to actually be very dark and brooding looking. You know, even though he's this frail old man underneath, when you see him for the first time, he actually presents this massive kind of structure in front of you because of the extra plumage on his face mask, because of the dark look on the face of the mask. And that's really kind of what he's all about, is just messing with your mind so that he doesn't get hit physically. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Leonard.
All right. Thank you, Brian. One of the things we decided to do in Diablo 3 that's different from, a little bit different from Diablo 2 and the first Diablo game is we expanded their voice. And in the first two games, they had limited voice. They would tell you when your inventory was full. They might comment on a situation or, you know, say, you know, rest in peace when they put a soul down. But since we were going with very specific individuals with specific personalities, we felt that the best way to represent that was to define them through their voices, to give them very identifiable voices that really kind of drive who they are as characters. And that helps reinforce their personalities and can change over their character arc as well, is another aid to helping us tell the story. Now, and another thing you saw in the demo yesterday was that we have a new conversation system. In the previous games, it was all monologues. And our little equation here is conversations are better than monologues, and monologues are longer. Even if it's the same number of words, a monologue can feel twice as long. It's not the best way to get information to have somebody just talk at you. It's a much quicker, easier, more entertaining device to have a conversation where your character comes to the table knowing certain things maybe the player doesn't know, but things that can be revealed through a conversation. It's much more interesting. It gives you a sense of discovering things as a player. We can also give your player a history your character a history that the player doesn't necessarily have to know about, that can be discovered throughout the game. This way we can create backgrounds for your characters. Characters from your people from your character's past can come back to haunt him. We can bring in class quests that could be very interesting. Each class will have different views of the story, which will be played out through these conversations, and it just basically makes it more interesting. I think that the bottom line beyond all this is it really gives us a way to put the hero that you're playing at the center of the story. Your hero can drive the story as opposed to being an errand boy. You can decide what is the best thing to do. You know, the villagers can be cowardly and not say, you know, you need to go fight this. You could suggest, we need to go fight this. We need to do this. I need to take this situation under control because no one else can take care of it. It really puts you at the center of the action and gives you a decisive role in that. And I think that's what's going to make the character more of a hero feel. And with that, we go to Jay Wilson, I believe?
No, that would be me. We did rehearse, I promise. There's a lot of slides. We forget what order they come in. So what I'm going to talk about now is the next step in creating a character class, which is what we call signature skills. And essentially, Signature skills are where we bring the design and the art together. So we focus on a small set of skills. We pick something really cool to work on, and basically focusing on defining what that character is all about. Now, when we start working on a character and coming up with skills, it's really easy to come up with, we probably sit in a room and come up with 100 skills. Coming up with ideas for them is not hard. But we don't decide we're going to make 100 skills. We decide, okay, well, what's one that's really cool and really defining for us? So we pick the one that we like the most, that we think is the most descriptive of those characters, and that's the skill we go with. When we do that, it's really important. We have kind of one of our sayings, which is on the slide, which is don't balance too soon. The goal here is not to create a skill that we feel is going to make for really balanced, fair gameplay. The point of this is to make a skill that is going to make people go,